This video would be your comprehensive guide towards understanding what is no code, why does it exist, and how can you make the best advantage of it. We will be walking you through a story to best explain this. The story has three components, each describing the series of events that led us to where we are today. You can find the timestamps for each event in the description box. Now, before I start the story, let me tell you what is no code in case you don't know it yet. No code is just another form of technology that allows people to provide instructions to a computing device such as smartphones, computers to automate repetitive tasks. Well, this is pretty much the same what coding was meant for. However, to gather better understanding about what no code is meant for and how is it different from traditional coding, we need to take a step back and reverse engineer towards why did we start coding in the first place. Event 1, evolution of computing. Both code and no code are just mediums for us to give instructions to a computer. And by instructions, I don't mean do this or do that. There is a series of information that a computer processes before you send an email or even browse something on the internet. Right from recognizing the sender's address, establishing a secure connection to the server, sending the message, or in the meantime, also converting the message into zeros and ones. In fact, there is a lot more information that a computer processes just before you do something as simple as sending an email. And I believe that you or any common man would not want to keep telling all these instructions to a computer every time you do something as simple as sending an email. And this is where a software comes in. A software is a digital component that bundles up all these instructions and other stuff that are necessary to carry out a function in order to enhance the experience of a user interacting with a computer. The same thing is what a software does. It not only makes sure that a function is carried out properly, but a good front end eases the user's experience in interacting with a computer in order to finish up a task. We all know how successfully frustrating government websites can get, even though they do the job. So, there is a backend to the software that deals with the functionality, and there is a front end that deals with the ease of use. And altogether, a piece of software makes our life easier in many ways. And I don't need to be explaining this to you because you wouldn't have been watching this video otherwise. Part 2, evolution of software development. Now that we have established the luxury of an eased life where we can efficiently interact with computers and be more efficient in life, the real challenge comes in making sure that this piece of technology or luxury, the way you see it, is accessible for all. Now, this is where I would like to bring in an analogy from biology here of how life evolved from single cell to multicellular to present day complex multicellular organism, adapting to each unique use case and building distinctively different functional features. This has been pretty much what's been happening with the software since 1970s. So far during this period, we were on a hunt for all sorts of generalistic problems that the public was facing and solving them with software, right from email providers to search engines to the social media platforms and so on. Just like how species were formed adapting to various conditions with various functionality. All the evolution and scientists still figured out a way to create hybrid species by bringing together the qualities of two different species or enhancing certain existing qualities of a single species, like mules or other enhanced crops. We always wanted things to be more efficient, and however absurd this may sound, the world of business rewards this. And this is because fundamentally people want things to be just right. Come on, we are only here for 100 years if everything goes well. And that is not a long enough time to be waiting for 10 days to communicate a message to a dear friend or to bend your workflow along with the features available in a certain application. Part 3, evolution of no code. But common problems was not all that software could automate. Companies and teams were all focused on solving the major common problems because that is where they sell the most. On the other hand, users started to develop an instinct in believing that they will have to work their way around the tool rather than have the tool build their own way. Now this is where the human instincts of optimization comes in. This is where no code, just like how genetic engineering makes certain species efficient in certain ways, no code allows users to bend existing software features to tailor it towards their own needs. I'll also agree that both have their own pros and cons. Just as much, I wouldn't like to believe that genetic engineering is how future babies would be made. I wouldn't want to believe that no code would be the future of how software is made. I believe both go hand in hand. You see, one of the reasons why it took us almost 30 years from when personal computing was introduced for Google to introduce its own search engine is that building a software is expensive. Expensive not just in monetary terms, but in terms of time, capital, and trust. You can successfully build up something one day only to have it copied by someone the other day. And to top it all off, because of this huge barrier of making software with code, people were only making software that would solve the generalistic problems that were faced by at least 100,000 or a million people so that they can bag a huge bunch of users. Until 2020, by which there was an application for almost all mainstream problems. And with COVID forcing work from home, a bunch of misfits, troublemakers, or the way Steve Jobs calls it, people who think differently, had a problem adapting to the features offered to them by these solutions built for the masses. And this is when people started experimenting with the idea of mixing and matching the best of two or more softwares, building a solution custom and personalized towards solving their own problem in their own way. And hence was born the idea of custom software and no code. No code at present has way more applications from what I have tried to describe. Starting from building websites to complex consumer facing applications, internal tools, personal productivity tools, I myself use a finance tracker that I tailored towards my need of tracking my own spending behavior. No code enables people to be innovative and to cook their solution their own way. And at the end of the day, it is important to keep in mind that it is all about the ease of interacting with a piece of hardware called computer. I hope this video was able to give you a brief towards understanding the fundamentals behind no code and the problems this piece of tech aims to solve. I would recommend you to watch our next video on why companies or individuals should invest in no code and what's the impact it can create.